Hey there, this is KDGRIER of KD.GRIER, and this is my co-host Demar Greer. Today we are joined by the Stroughters, and we are going to talk to you today and talk to each other today about how you are supporting your king or queen in this climate. With all of the social unrest and injustices that we see almost on a daily on social media sites, how are we undergirding and helping to make sure that this trauma and this conflict does not enter into our safe space at home with our loved ones? And so we're going to speak to that today. Stroughters, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. This is The Exchange. You will see more of their faces as we just have a meeting of the minds. Isaiah and Moniece, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure to have you.
Yeah. So we really wanted to, I think today's topic really kind of stemmed from a conversation that we had last week, right? Mm-hmm. And we were talking about an experience that Isaiah had. And by the way, first of all, congratulations. This is a newlywed couple, y'all. If you haven't known, Black love, we out here, strong out here. Melanin strong out here, okay? But this is a newlywed couple. And Isaiah shared with us an experience that he had, and your experience and how that affected your wife. I don't think it's different from a lot of other men's experiences, because when I heard yours, I had a lot of empathy because I've experienced some things as well that was similar to yours. So being that we had that conversation, I wanted to share this with other people and just to get their take on how we support each other in this manner. So I really kind of wanted to start with what was that experience that you actually had, Isaiah, that we were talking about last week, and let's just have a talk. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Let's dive right into it. So first, I do want to say we kind of already covered, but thank you for having us on. We're super excited about this conversation that we are going to be able to hold. And we hope that this touches a lot of people in different ways. But let's dive into that experience that happened. So one day I was coming home on lunchtime, basically, and pulling it back into our apartments. And as I'm pulling out, I noticed there's a lot of police activity going on. Not really sure. Like I said, I'm just on lunch. And I'm pulling out in my car, and as I'm pulling through the gate, I see a cop stop as he's driving into my apartment gate. And before I proceed, I should say the apartments that we lived in, they were fairly nice apartments. Not a lot of things really happened at that complex, maybe around it, but not a lot of things usually happen. So it was kind of suspicious to see the cops pulling in like that. But as he was pulling in, I noticed he was really staring me down. And like I said, I'm just on my lunch, doing my thing, about to go buy some protein. About to stop at the shop and get some protein real quick. So as I'm pulling out, I notice he busts a complete U-turn, and he follows me all the way to the light, and the protein shop's not too far from the apartment. So he's following me all the way. I finally hit a light, and I kind of have that sense where I can notice when I'm being followed, really. And I noticed he was still behind me at the light, and I see automatically he gets out his car and has his hand on his gun. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what's going on. I know that there's a car in front of me, and I'm right there on Arden Way for people who are familiar with that, right in front of the mall. And all I could think about was calling my wife, but I know my wife was just clocked back into work, and I was all right, I won't be able to reach her. So I called my mom, next best person. And I called my mom, and literally almost in tears, like, Mom, I don't know what's about to go on. I'm literally in my truck, just driving, about to get some protein, and this cop literally is stepping out of his car as I'm talking to you with his hand on his gun. And by the time I'm having this dialogue with her, he calls a backup. So now there's 3 cop cars. There's another one on the side, and there's another one on the other side of the street, who all 3 of them are getting out of their cars. And all my mom could say is, Isaiah, drive, no matter what, just drive. We'll deal with anything else. We'll do illegal stuff after. And I really see that mindset because it comes down to, all right, am I either going to stand here and take it and where we can deal with legal stuff later, or am I going to try to defend myself or get out of the situation where I can deal with the consequences later on, but still be alive? And as she's telling me to drive, I'm just like in tears. I'm just like, Mom, I can't. There's a car in front of me. There's a bank on the side of me. Basically, I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck. Mm-hmm. And as that light turns green, the car goes and I take off as well. And they pause. It was kind of weird. You just see the cops just kind of pause. And it's like they wanted to pursue me, but then at the same time, one of the other, like I said, there was 3 cops. One of the other ones kind of came up and stopped them. And they're all in the middle of the street. Everyone is just looking like, what's going on? And I'm just taking off, really. I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I just go ahead and take off. One hops back in his car and follows me a little bit further, and then he finally breaks off. But that experience alone, it was scary for sure. Because like I said, I'm just on my lunch. I'm not doing anything. I'm about to go get some protein, but I can automatically be profiled and followed with the chance of my life being taken. Because in all honesty, I mean, we can speak real. He got out that car ready to quote unquote do his job. Hand on his gun when anything didn't add up really. All of that was pointless. He was ready to take action into his own hands. And then later on, I found out, my wife did some research after I was able to get on the phone with her. Come to find out there's another kid, I guess he's close to my age. We don't look much alike, but he has locks. Don't have the same matching car. I guess he did some type of robbery or something like that. Nothing about it was the same. They just saw a kid with locks. And they decided to follow me, where I could have.
You fit the description.
Exactly. I fit the description.
Right.
I fit.
He was dark. He was dark as me, though. What? No,
but yeah, I could have gotten my life taken just based off that experience, just because I look like the person who committed a crime.
Right. And even though Black people, and you probably have experienced some type of run-in with the cops before, and Black people experience this thing semi-regularly, men more than women, I'm sure that this particular experience was a traumatic experience. And I believe I remember you saying that this was right around the George Floyd killing time, like George Floyd or someone had just been killed a day or two before. And so everybody was on heightened alert, and you can feel the tension, like you can cut it with a knife. So Moniece, you want to speak to how you were able to, once you got into the presence of your king, or even on the phone with your king, what were you able to do to help him mitigate this trauma?
Honestly, the only thing that I could do at the moment was make sure that he didn't feel my fear through the phone, because that wasn't going to help the situation in that moment. It was my job to be his strength. It was my job to keep his mind together and to keep him focused on moving forward, because something like that happening to you can stop you just dead in your tracks.
Yeah.
You don't really know how to move forward, knowing that you could be doing nothing, absolutely nothing wrong, and someone has the authority to come and end your life for it because you fit the description. And it's hard to kind of, just I'll never understand what it's like to be a Black man, but to carry that weight every single day, to walk out of the house knowing that you could be that next statistic, that could be your name that everyone's writing on cardboard, walking around with, that everyone's tattooing everywhere, or, having your face on a mask, that could be your name. That could be your husband, your brother, your son. And so in that moment, the first thing I could do was just let him process, talk through it, and show him that he's still here.
Yeah.
That God was able to cover him in that situation, and he's still here for a reason. So all we can do now is move smarter, and keep going.
That's good. That actually sounds wonderful. So it sounds to me like you were able to, for one, stay calm, right? Because I'm sure you were alarmed as well, because the trauma just doesn't end with the initial person that it impacts. The trauma then kind of spreads. It kind of moves around to everyone that it touches. Even just hearing it second, third hand, it is traumatic to me too. Like I feel that pain as well. And so I also heard you say that you relied upon your faith. You relied upon your faith to let him know that he was covered, that God had him, and that you had him. You were a listening ear and a safe space for him to come and mourn that trauma, right? Because I know a lot of our Black men have problems being able to be emotional, or some may say soft, or to be vulnerable, right? And so because they've been taught growing up, boys don't cry, men don't cry, suck it up, blah 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 blah. So all of the emotions that a person feels, a lot of times it may come out inappropriately as either anger or something like that. That's not the appropriate feel for the moment. So it sounds like you were able to help with that feel,
And
and so that was wonderful.
In all honesty, her coming to the situation so calm really helped me, because as my wife knows, I'm not. You know how there's fight or flight. I'm not a flight. I'm at the end of the day, I'm gonna stand there and stand my ground. And I remember when I was a kid, and as you're a kid growing up in this, you notice it. And I remember telling my mom, I believe it was years ago. I can't remember which Black man got killed from this scenario, but I told my mom, I said, I'm not going to be that Black man who a cop comes up to me and just feels like they could put their hands on me. No, that's not me. Like, I never want to be that person who dies for something like that. But at least if I do die, I won't die on the ground. Like, that's what's not going to happen. So her calmness really helped me, because if we took it from an anger standpoint, I could have tried to retaliate or some type of way. And then at the same time, with my mom as well, I really called her because she knows the same thing. It's not a flight for me. It's more of a fight. So I was in tears, because it's calling her. It's like, is this going to be the last call? It's completely scary. It's completely scary. And that's honestly where the call came from. Because in any other situation, I wouldn't have called. I would just maneuver. Like, if there wasn't a car in front of me, I'd have maneuvered, got my way. But I'm stuck, really. So if this person walks up to my door, I'm going to have to defend myself. That's just all it is. So it comes down to, is this the last call?
Right.
And her comments walking me through that was very needed, because that immediately turned into anger. As soon as the emotion dropped, the emotion came back, and it was anger. I was mad, just completely livid. I can't even remember the rest of the work day from that specific day. I was completely livid. Mostly when
that happens, right? So we had just and I'm sorry to cut you off, but we had just I can't let this go. We just watched a movie that was called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, right? Produced by Denzel, the play that they did, and in that there was so many messages actually, but there was a message that was in there where we had a Black man who was really kind of being manipulated, strung along and whatnot from his white boss, right? And he did not take it out on the boss because he still needed to get what he needed to get, right? But what happened was he ended up retaliating on his own people, right? So we talk a lot about like Black on Black crime, and we talk a lot about trauma and abuse within the household, right? But a lot of times I think your response to your man, right, your king, was so important, because a lot of times we don't understand, as Black men, as we go out here and we're fighting against a system that wants to pretty much swallow you up. Then you come home, and sometimes there's a fight there too, right? And sometimes, like you said, like men, sometimes we don't know how to express that and how to, express like where we're at, what place we're in right now. We just know that I'm angry, right? There's so much going on. Like you said, it's a lot of pressure on our shoulders. So sometimes I don't know how to express that, and it may come across the wrong way, right? So knowing how to address your king and your queen is extremely important. This doesn't even have to just be about us in the streets with the police, because I work in a corporate office and I work for the state. So when I'm at work, we know about what duality is, right? We know how sometimes we have to flip the switch to get what we need to get to navigate through the corporate office, right? And there's a lot of times where I'm just tired, you know what I mean, of flipping the switch. I'm drained, right? So I'm at work and I'm dealing with others and that are not just like me, that don't have the same core system or beliefs or thought process as I, right? And when I come home, like I'm dead, I'm drained, you know what I mean? So the way that my wife responds to that is extremely important, because I've been through trauma just at work, just having to be in a dual space as a Black man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is the big question, right? Code switching. To code switch or not to code switch? Mm-hmm. Do you all code switch? And how do you feel about it if you do or if you don't?
I feel like we have like completely different experiences with code switching, like in terms of, being different skin tones. There are differences in how, you interact with people or how people interact with you, especially growing up as a child, you learning kind of your place. And so like, I definitely learned to code switch at a young age, because there were certain ways that I was expected to act around, family and friends that were, Black, and family and friends that weren't, Black or light skin. So it was always a difference. And I was in private schools for majority of my school age. So having to, being at home and I'm the lightest person in my family, and then going to school and I'm the darkest one there. I definitely learned how to turn that switch very early.
Right. So it's not like you may have had to turn the switch in the house and out of the house a little bit. I mean, for a lack of better terminology or a lack of better words, when you get because I know in my family we got nicknames and we poke fun at everybody and we jab at everybody. So the difference that we can poke fun at, even though the difference is not deficient, if it's different than me, I can jab at it and poke fun at it or say something about it. And although I may not mean it like negatively to break your spirit, if it's said over and over again, things like that happen. So did you experience that, being the light-skinned one, not even in your, not just your immediate family, but in your what is it called? The extended family?
Definitely. I mean, I grew up mostly being called light bright. And, it's funny, it's kiki, whatever. But at some point you're like, that I am not my skin tone. I have a name and I matter. And especially it being hard because I wasn't light skinned because I'm mixed. I have a lighter parent, so it was hard because you're not a mixed kid and you weren't fitting in with the Black kids. So it's like, it's even more division. And I never understood it, because at the end of the day, we are only seen as Black, all of us. We're all seen as, but getting those nicknames or being treated differently or being told passive aggressive, backhanded compliments, they definitely shaped me as a kid. They definitely affected me and my self-esteem and my view of self-worth. Like I always thought that darker skinned women were absolutely beautiful because that's all I was surrounded by. I only saw them as the pinnacle of strength, of beauty, of love. And so to be on the flip hand, kind of demeaned by them in some way, even though it wasn't meant to be harmful. And, you know, you don't want to be taken as sensitive. So you take it and you just kind of move along with it. But at the end of the day, you sit there and no one calls you by your name.
Right.
No one identifies you as a person rather than just your skin tone. And then, you know, extended and in school, there's that difference as well, is that you talk this way, so you must belong to them.
Right.
You act that way. It's a little too black for me. I'm gonna need you to head on over there.
Right.
So it's definitely difficult, but we all have our experiences, and just in the same way, I saw the colorism with, you know, my cousins growing up, you know, darker skin in that sort of sense. And so it was always puzzling to me.
Yeah.
Why we had this fight back and forth when, you know, we viewed each other as beautiful. So why is it that we're always pitted against each other?
Right. Right. So that's internal code switching. What about you, Zay, with your internal or external code switching?
For me, when it comes to code switching, I would say it wasn't really as hard for me. Just coming from the background that I came from, I would say probably the harder, more often code switch was really with other people from the hood, you can say, because how my family is, we're raised to hold yourself up high, really, and to respect yourself. Where that's ingrained in us, really. We're from the South, so our family really believes in that, and that's just how we've been. So I didn't have to code switch when I would go, say, for example, to a location where our counterparts live. Obviously, I'm still a black man in those areas, but my speech didn't reflect it.
Right.
I've been told, oh, you talk white. No, I just talk proper.
Right.
There's nothing wrong.
Right. That's what I was just going to say about the you talk white thing, because I'm originally from Oakland, California. My husband's from the Bay Area. He's from Frisco and the Bay Area. And coming here to Sacramento was a shock in itself, because when we got to Sacramento, it was very, very vanilla. And so we couldn't find the cultural events that we used to go to every weekend. We couldn't find the food. You can't just happen upon a Jamaican restaurant. You couldn't just happen upon, you know, a soul food place if you were hungry or wanted to eat something. You had to go down to the Denny's or the Perco's or whatever. So I think that when we first got here, they were looking like, where are you from? And mind you, we come from private school. So we're thinking we're upper echelon. We're the elite Negro. Okay. We're the elite. So we come here, and these white people looking at us like, where are you from? First of all, they said we sounded country. So when we got out here, they said we sounded country. So after living here for a couple of years, we're back home. We had a family reunion. We're hanging out in the Bay Area. Our cousins were like, oh, you sound white. So we sound country here, and there we're getting, you sound white. So I get the internal code switching where you have to kind of be like, no, I'm still down. I'm still hood. I'm still whatever. And was never hood in the first place, to be honest. Let's just be clear. But, you know, you do have to kind of put on a chameleon spirit where you just want to fit in. And I think that's the humanity of us, right? Because everybody wants to feel accepted. Everybody wants to be accepted wherever they are. But I think for Black people, for us having to have dualities and multiple faces, you have your interview face when you go into a job place that's predominantly white. Straighten your hair, put it up in a ponytail, make sure you look neat, make sure you look clean, make sure you use the proper words or the proper vernacular or whatever. And then when you're back home, it's just like, what's up, homie? What's up, sis? What's up? You know what I'm saying? You can't speak like that at work and be taken seriously. Unfortunate.
And you know what? And I even say, just to kind of piggyback off that, because I'm dark skinned, right? I am. I know you probably can't tell it's the lighting, but I am, right? So
original king, that's what I call him.
So as a dark skinned man, it just kind of seems like I pose more of a threat sometimes to, white people, right? So when I go into the room, I'm not like the smallest all the time. So if I'm in the room or whatnot, typically they feel threatened. So it's almost like I have to code switch just so that they feel comfortable. Do I have to do it? I don't have to do it, right? But sometimes, like, it's so uncomfortable when they're uncomfortable. They're so uncomfortable that makes me uncomfortable, right? Like, I'm like, look, they might drop a bomb right now because they so uncomfortable, right? So sometimes, like, it feels like I have to live in this dual space just to live comfortably. You know what I mean? I've been at work and I've had, folks that was like, yeah, he's whitewashed, or I just need to continue to move and I'm climbing, right? So it's not that I want to assimilate or be something that I'm not, right? I'm me, like you said. What's wrong with me talking proper? What's wrong with me pulling my pants up in a meeting, right? Like there's, it's etiquette, right? So, so I don't even pay attention to that. But a lot of times the code switching that sometimes it's imposed on me. Like I have to, just because white people or other folks are so uncomfortable. Like, let me just, kind of mellow the room out by just, turning on a switch really quick. So that kind
even
of
other black people, because I do that to you often. We'll be out and we'll be out buying something or doing something, and somebody will not give us what we paid for. Like they will mess up something or don't deliver us what we've paid for. And when my husband addresses them, especially if it's a woman, he'll say, hey, this is not da, 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 da. And he has a right to speak his piece. He has a right to be firm. But I always say, honey, let me deal with it. You're scaring the white lady. Let me deal with it. And what he's saying is right. And he's not coming from a place of anger or vitriol. He's not even raising his voice. His voice is not even elevated. But just for the simple fact that he's being assertive, it's already going to be deemed as him being aggressive. So there's no way for a black man to speak to, and it's so crazy that I have to say this because it sounds like the 30s. It's for a black man to speak assertively to a white woman becomes a place of, or an opportunity for his death, for his murder, right?
It's not even just a white woman. It's white men as well, because mostly,
agreed.
I mean, in today's clients, just like DeMar said, I'm happy you bring this up, because one thing that really, well, I should say, that adds to the threat per se is us having some size to us. And I don't mean fat size. I mean us kind of having some tone, some muscle, and our counterparts would automatically say, oh, well, you are surely a running back, or you play football for sure. We have some size to us. So that never helps any situation. So that automatically makes a white man get suspicious. You can automatically see if you walk into the store, into a room,
they buck up.
They will buck up. You can tell they'll stand up, or they'll try to buck up, or they'll try to size you up, or they'll try to throw that. Oh, what you used to play in football? Like, man, none of that's necessary. I'm just here trying to get my chicken. like leave me alone at the end of the day.
You know how to say chicken's egg? You couldn't say prime rib or something. You had to fall right into the stereotype.
If I'm being honest, because that's what I'm thinking.
You're always hungry.
Always. But I mean, it's not even just the women, and it's funny because being with my wife, she's the one that has kind of brought that voice out of me, because, like I said earlier, I'm not a flight person, I'm a fight person. So with me knowing myself, I can read a situation and say, okay, it's not necessary for me to bring it up. Now, don't get me wrong, if I sense disrespect, then I'm a step in for sure. But if it's not full level of disrespect, or I'm like, all right, let me just walk out of here, or it's going to turn into something worse.
Right.
I've learned to let it go. But my wife, on the other hand, she would be like, no, they're not going to do us any different than anyone else. And she's for real brought that out of me to where, I mean, if I feel like we're getting wronged in any way, I'm like, no, I'll stand here. You can close it. You can do whatever you want, but you won't have to.
Let's be clear. I'm not instigating. Okay. I'm
Sounds like
advocating.
Okay, that's good. Not instigating, advocating. I like that. That's good.
Let's just be clear. I just don't stand for disrespect. I mean, if he comes at you politely, you will speak to him politely. If not, you either gonna speak to me or you're gonna speak to him. And that's it. Like, I don't deal with that.
And I think that's where the generations come in at, because this is an intergenerational conversation. So we're Gen Xers, you guys are Gen Z, right? And so I think you guys have grown up in a generation and a society that, based on your age, the things that you've gone through, the schooling, the high school, the college, starting out, I think that things seem a little more open and just a little bit more fair, a little bit more inclusive than it did when we were growing up. We still have parents from segregation age time, so we still all those stories are first hand to us, and it's like, don't do this, don't do that. So the fear that they had was transferred into us. And I think you guys are the first generation that really hasn't had that type of fear that transferred, handed down, as a legacy. You guys experience it in the news, but not handed down as a legacy. Speak to that.
I would say for me, since I was able to know the generations who, were born at the early 1900s. I knew my great-grandmother who died at the age 95, 96. So that was handed down to me. That's why I say my wife really imparted that to me, because I learned from my grandpa that, hey, if it's not worth it, it's better to just walk away. And that has helped me out in multiple situations. But my wife has shown me as well where she really had to tell me one day. She was like, you don't take disrespect from nobody. So why are you going to take it from this woman behind the counter just because she doesn't want to give you A, B, or C? And she was like, no, I'm not telling you to be rude, but don't take any less than what she's going to give someone else.
That's right.
That, it came from mostly my mom and my aunts watching their strength. I always grew up with a mouth. Okay. All right. I had that from day one. And my mom always taught me, no matter the age, no matter the rank, no matter the position, everybody gives you respect. And that's how you give back respect. If they disrespect you, they don't deserve your respect either. So that's how I've always been. And that, it goes against, those generational things that we learned, to respect your elders. And I'm not saying that I don't. But at the end of the day, no one on this earth, as my mom tells me, I say my mom tells me a lot, but one of the core things that she has always taught me is that no one walking near you has a heaven or hell to put you in. So at the end of the day, you don't tolerate, you don't allow any disrespect to come to you or the people around you. Because once you start thinking that, it'll continue. And I don't take that at all. I don't care how old I am. I don't care how old you are, where you work, who you work for. You respect me unless I give you a reason not to, and vice versa. And I'll give that back to you until you break that with me. And then it's a wrap.
So if y'all see us on a Facebook Live and I'm going off on somebody, or I'm hemming somebody up, automatically knows they did something to my wife, because
it was deserved, right? It was deserved. Yeah. So protection.
So I got a question. So being that we're kind of talking about, we kind of slid off top a little bit, but we're talking about taking care of your king and queen in this type of climate, right? So are there specific needs, and we can go either man or woman, but Isaiah, are there specific things that you need from your wife? Do you find that you need certain things from your wife a bit more that you probably didn't think that you would need, based on you having to deal with these outside injustices of some sort? For example, I'll say this. So sometimes when I'm at home, if I'm really out fighting the fight, like fist up all day long, you know, and I'm going through, I may come home and babe, I just really need you just to love on me right now. I may not, you know what I mean? Maybe just not a heightened conversation. I probably won't even last. I might need to just go to bed today, right? So there's certain things that sometimes we have to tailor the way that we are affection or care for one another, just based on what we kind of deal with on the outside. So is there anything that, like, particular needs that you may have from your wife or need from your wife?
I think one thing you touched on that you may be trying to say and that I view as so important is peace in your home. Your home should be, in all realness, your sanctuary in a way, a place where you can go and be peaceful. You don't want to, mostly when you're out fighting the fight, you don't want to come home and have to fight another fight.
Right.
You don't want that at all. And DeMar, you brought up the amazing example about when you had to code switch at work and you came home and really you can be yourself. You can let go. You can talk to your wife freely. No disrespect or nothing like that, but you can talk freely. You can fully be yourself, and it's peaceful, and it's neutral conversation that you're then having, because that takes all the worry that you have off of your shoulders that is happening in the world. One huge thing, mostly with 2020, it was, walking out of your door. We had COVID, we had all the riots, we had the racist things going on. It's when you step out of your door, it's just like, oh my gosh. So having that peace in your home and the peace from your wife is so important for a man, and vice versa, so important for the woman as well, because as a Black woman, they're fighting this fight as well.
True. Hey, that's true, and I'm glad you said it, because I didn't want to say it in a way that would offend, but let me just say, so peace of mind, though, right? Like there's no price tag on peace of mind, right? So, when we are out, like, as men, and I'll just say this for the women, like when a man is out, it is difficult to be, it's difficult to be Black, period, right? I remember having a conversation with my wife, like, look, I've defended myself all day at work, right? From multiple folks at work, right? I don't want to come home and have to defend myself at home either, right? Like, some things, let it go. Like, I'll just tell you straight up, if I'm not with the conversation, let it go. You got that. That's on you. You feel me? Because I fought all day long, and like you said, peace of mind is the best thing going when I come home. It's my sanctuary, right?
Right. That's good, because that actually sometimes I'll be able to sense that, and instead of picking a fight, I'll just go shopping, and then he won't have nothing to say. He's too poop to say anything. So, ladies, I'm not telling you how to take advantage of your men, but if they too poop to argue, they too poop to say you don't spend that money. Okay, but with us also being Black and have to carry the outside burdens as well, and then also come and undergird our King, what is it, Mo, that you would say that you need in order for you to be at the best tip top of your queendom that you can be?
I would say, just specifically during 2020, it was staying prayed up. It was staying grounded in my faith and in my word, and just making sure that whenever he goes out into the world, it's taking from him. There's taking from him. So when he comes home, my job is to fill him back up with support, fill him back up with love, with emotional stability, so that again, the next morning he can go out and give all that he has, because this world is all it does. It takes from you. It takes, your emotional intelligence. It takes your being. It takes your patience, everything. And that worry that he has to carry every time he walks out of the door, it's draining on you. Right. And so the only thing that I needed was to make sure that in this time, it wasn't about me. It was about making sure that I was strong enough myself, that I was grounded enough myself, so that I can stand behind him and hold him up.
You better say that. You better say that.
You know what? Let me piggyback really quick. This is what I had to recognize in my marriage, was that we are a team. So when I go through, my wife is going through too. And sometimes, you know, in our early stages, when I would have to go fight the good fight, right? I would come back as if I was by myself, fighting by myself, right? So I'm on emotional cloud nine, right? I'm up here. And I had to realize that when I am going through, my wife is also going through, because we're connected, right? We're doing it together. We're teammates. And I remember one thing that she would always say, what you would say was, I'm not against you. Like, we're on the same team. Like, I'm not the enemy, right? And she would say that. And I don't know how, you know, if that was the first or the second year that I got that, right?
It took a minute.
It really took a minute. I'm an introvert, and I've always been on my own. I'm the oldest as well, so I've always had to do everything on my own. And it took a minute for me to really get like that. She's not the enemy. So even when we go out, and even as the woman is supporting the king, and vice versa. When the wife goes out and she comes back home, same thing. So this is not just for the man. This is not for not gender specific at all, but when we do come back, that we understand that we're all in this whole thing together. And just how you're praying, and that takes a lot of energy and time as well, for you to be a backbone, for him to be a backbone for you. That takes energy, and that's taken away as well. One thing I will say, which I learned biblically, I'm not to feel you. So you had mentioned something about your faith and how you pray him up and you stay prayed up, right? Because the Lord does fill us up, right? And he is what will keep you whole, right? And we are there for the overflow, to give you that extra push that you need. You know what I mean? So I like how you did mention that about your faith.
Yeah, and I just want to mention to the viewers who will view this even later, and I appreciate those who are on here with us. Tap in, give us a comment, let us know if you have a question, if you have any type of anything that you want to speak to. That may be another video. If you want to speak to anything that we're saying here, or add anything, I want you to make sure that you comment so the other viewers see it even later on. But it is very imperative that we do have a grounded center, that we do have a firm foundation, a footing of faith. And I'm not telling anybody what their faith tradition should be. I'm not telling anybody what to believe. But what I am saying is that we cannot do this thing alone. We cannot do this thing alone as a people. Individually, I'm in it, he's in it, we're all in it together, and we cannot do this thing alone as a human being. We should always seek a higher power, not just seek knowledge, right? Because knowledge puffs up. And so I think we need to continue to get the family back to a faith foundation, and then everything else builds on top of that faith foundation. It sounds like you guys had that, and I wanted to remind the viewers that you all are young. You're in your 20s. You're in your early 20s, yes. And you're married. You have your first baby on the way. You're homeowners. You're business owners. And look, let me tell you, these people are out here doing it. Okay, this couple's out here doing it. So they're not coming from a place of adolescence or youth or immaturity. This couple right here is a lot further than a lot of us was at that age, and maybe even a lot of us are at this age that we are at. So I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing with us. It has been an amazing discussion that we've had here. Is there anything that you want to plug, or you have anything upcoming that you're looking forward to that we can address here or lay bare here?
I don't know right now. I think that this year we're gonna have a lot of things in the works, and just stay tuned for the next chapter of our lives. What we bring back, what we do next. It's definitely gonna be a hefty year, so we're claiming that, and we're definitely gonna make it something worth waiting for. I guess.
Sure. I like to plug our business. I mean, We do have a couple businesses. One business is Blessed Success. I'm actually wearing one of our shirts right now.
All right.
Clothing line that we have. I'd also like to plug my business. I'm with Homes Financial as a life insurance agent. So if there's anyone out there who may need help with wealth management, financial advising, life insurance, or annuity help, feel free to get in contact with me. Also, I like to plug a future real estate agent right here. She's in the works pastor class. She's going to ace this license easily. So we'll have that on the horizon.
All right. It sounds good. Sounds like y'all got it together. Okay. It sounds like you guys are pulling this together. I appreciate that. We too. And by the way, Naomi Noble, she says, congratulations on you guys becoming new parents. So we wanted to
thank you, Naomi.
Is Homes Financial. I hope I spelled that right. Homes Financial, right? Okay, so that's where he's at, and so you guys can find us here on KD.GRIER. You can also find us on Instagram at KD.GRIER and on YouTube at KD.GRIER Studios. And also on Shopify at KDGRIER.myshopify.com. KDGRIER.myshopify.com. Go out there and get your merch, support us as we continue to support and uplift the Black community. We have new Love Power shirts on sale. Yay! So this is the rose gold Love Power, and that is the 24 karat gold Love Power. And essentially, it's an Adinkra symbol, and the Adinkra symbol basically just means that love never loses its way home. Love always knows how to return home. And so that's what we're promoting. Love. We're promoting the return, whatever that may be. We have to come back to love. That has to be the foundation as well. All right.
And lastly, so we have been talking about this, having these conversations. I think what's super important, I was just online with one of my buddies in the Bay Area as well about, there's a principle for Kwanzaa about the collective, right? Like it really, we move forward when we get further, when we do things together, right? So I'm really excited about just kind of moving forward together, right? Not leaving anybody behind, but anybody, and you can't take everybody, right? But those that want to go, we sharing knowledge and information and just kind of learning from each other as we move forward. So I'm really happy about that. I'm happy what we're doing. I'm excited about you guys' future. Again, people's Blessed Success. They got some great gear too, so check them out also.
Great gear. Dope gear. And a lot of people asked me yesterday, because it was my birthday, I have to say that again. I'm gonna say it all month. But a lot of people asked me yesterday about the makeup that I was wearing, and I do want to let them know that it is also a Black business, a Black-owned business, Diva Couture Cosmetics. Diva Couture Cosmetics is found on Facebook, as well as if you go to on Facebook, the owner, CEO, founder, and the baddest MUA makeup artist in the Bay Area, California. Don't get it twisted. Lady Shirley Gaines, Diva Couture Cosmetics. Check them out, support them, go and support them. They do also support the community, as well as these two businesses you see in front of you. So that's been all for us here on The Exchange. We appreciate you tuning in with us. Like, subscribe, share, comment, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.